Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rishi Tarot. Thank you for tuning in. So, today we will be asking Rishi which career path will make you the most successful. All right. So, we have four piles for today. Here's pile one, pile two, pile three, and pile four. Now, you may pause the video to select your pile, and once you have done so, you may go down to the description box down below and click on the timestamp associated to your PAL number. So once again, this is a general reading, so take only what resonates and what your intuition validates. All right, let's begin. Hi, my PAL one. Welcome to your reading. All right, so we have several categories here for your reading today of which career will make you the most successful. We have your abilities, your skill sets, as well as where your path, your destiny is meant to take you, as well as the ideal career for you. All right, and there'll be several components of this: the role you'll play, the industry, etc. All right, so let's start with your skill sets and abilities. All right, I see my PAL one that you are a people's person. What I mean by this is your talent is in dealing with people. All right, now not everybody has this. In fact, it's a pretty rare quality. Some people are better off in front of a computer dealing, with your spreadsheets all day, or they're busy honing your craft or in the kitchen. You, on the other hand, are the front-facing person. All right. When I say front facing, I mean, say if you're in a company, you're external facing. You'll be dealing with the clients. You'll be, dealing with the either external people that your company deals with, or internally. Say if you're in human resource, I'm throwing out examples, right? Or you could be a managerial position, right, where you're diplomatic, you deal with your coworkers, etc. So this is your skill set. All right. On top of this, it's not just about which institution or which company you're at, because you could be an entrepreneur. So it's about making those connections. So that is your gift. All right, my PAL one, making those connections. Now, elaborating on this point, you have this ability to convince people. All right. Now, I don't mean, you're trying to sell them something. I mean, you just have this ability to convince them of your point of view. All right, as well as why they should do something. All right. So you're very convincing, and I think part of that is because you understand human nature. All right, you understand human nature very well, and this puts you in a good position for leadership. All right. And I'll talk about your management abilities later, but I want to remind you here that because of your interpersonal relationships and this ability to convince people, to sell people on your ideas, and you understand people, right? You understand their motivations, and so that makes you a good leader, right? Because you sell them on a vision. So the other thing I see is that you're very discerning. All right, you're good with people, but you have this almost X-ray ability to figure out someone's strong points and weak points, right? So it's like you see right through them. You see right through to the heart of the matter, and you're compassionate about it too. You don't judge people like, oh, you're this way. In fact, quite the opposite, right? Because you're so discerning, all right, my PAL one, you see both the good and the bad, and you see room for improvement, right? So it's like you have this optimistic but a very realistic optimism about the people you meet, the people you encounter, the people you work with, okay? So that's it's almost like that's the key ingredient in your in this magic of your friendships, your interpersonal connections. So You're also someone who's pretty upfront. Like you're not blunt. That's not what I'm getting at. But you don't you don't hold yourself back when there's an urge to point something out. So say one of your coworkers or one of your clients, like say they step out of their integrity, or they're blindsided by something. You don't really hold back. I feel like you're someone who steps up and you point it out, but in a very compassionate manner, right? So you're not blunt, you're tactful, but you don't take a step back. You actually confront those issues. So people appreciate your discernment, your honesty, as well as your compassionate approach to matters. All right, my Pawan. So these are your skill sets, and I would say that in this day and age, whatever job you do, having the connections is really key. Whatever industry you're in, you can never, really stay behind a computer or stay in your room and hone your craft. You really got to get out there. So this human connections that you have, this is your lucky star. All right, my Pawan. So you leverage on this. All right, so let's move on to what destiny holds for you. Okay, so there's what we're good at, and then there's this other portion, which is like this invisible hand, right? That moves you or shifts you slowly towards a path that is aligned with your greater destiny. All right. So, a couple of things. Number one, I see you being a teacher of sorts. All right. Now, I don't mean teacher like literally, like you have to teach in a high school or a college or something like that. I mean, you have a lot of wisdom to dispense. First, there's your soft skills, all right? These are the soft skills. But, there are other things. I feel like you can be a technical expert as well, You can be a technical expert in matters. So you are a teacher in a way. But in other ways, on the surface, it appears like you're more the leader or the manager, right? Because people listen to you. People believe in you, in your vision, as I was saying earlier. And, it's not just the soft skills, all right? You have the technical abilities as well. Like you may understand your industry or your company in and out, how the business works. So I see that in you, all right? And people respect that. I feel like my Pawan, you're someone who gains respect. You're someone who gains respect from your peers, from those working, not beneath you, but like in lower in ranks, as well as those who are more senior than you. All right. I see a lot of wisdom. And I don't just mean soft skills like philosophy in life. I see technical expertise as well. All right, my Pawan. So, all right, what else does destiny hold for you? Destiny wants you to bring people together and make everyone this happy, all right? It's like your role is to be this community builder where in this community, everyone's happy. Everyone's feeling like they're motivated. Everyone is feeling like they're themselves. All right. So your role, your task is to ensure harmonious dynamics. To ensure harmonious dynamics between the people you work with. Okay? My Pawan, I don't know if you're an entrepreneur, you're working for a company, an institution, but I definitely see you being surrounded with people. Your career, you're not meant to be working alone. All right? You might be an entrepreneur, but you're surrounded with people, like a community. I don't see it just being clients. I see that you need a bunch of people to work with together to get things done, because really that is your skill set. You're good at it, as well as your path. And the thing about your path, when you start following your path, it's actually a lot smoother. I mean, think about this invisible hand that is shifting you, that's like kind of pushing you in that direction. So when you're on your path, things become smoother, all right? You'll feel more fulfilled. So, yes, as I was mentioning earlier, I see you playing a leadership position, management, teaching, both in soft skills as well as technical expertise. You don't have to be in a company for that. You could still be working for yourself, but I definitely see you being part of a community, and I see that you play a significant role in that community. Either you're somewhere, in the hierarchy of that community. I mean, all right, let's not use the word hierarchy, but say you're one of the founders of the community, right? Because I see that destiny wants you to bring people together, and for these people to interact harmoniously and work together for a cause, right? For a cause that you believe in. Because you are so good at convincing people for a cause. Like, you need the leaders of any movement to have faith, to have like unwavering, like absolute faith in whatever that mission statement is for the organization, for the movement, right? So you're someone like that. So I see you coming out with a community, all right? Either you're one of the founders or you're high management in that community, but you play a central role in harmonizing that dynamics of the community. In addition to playing the teacher, the wise one, the leader, all right, and sort of imparting your skills, right? To those who look up to you and to those who need you to lead them. All right? All right, so let's look at a couple of roles you might be playing. So, all right, first off, I mentioned leader, higher management. That's one. So let's look at a couple of other things. Now, I see that for the most part, my PAL one, I see you in an organization. All right. I don't really see you being an entrepreneur. I see that you're really much better in an organization. Whether you set up that organization yourself, or you join an existing one, or you come together with a bunch of people and set something up. Now, I see that there's two possibilities here. All right. So one possibility is technology is suitable for you. All right. The other possibility is in the role of governance, right? You don't have to be in a government per se necessarily, but you could be in an institution where it plays a role in some form of social governance, okay? Now, in addition to this, I see that whatever role, whether it be in technology, whether it be in some kind of social governance, I see that you are in the role of management, okay? The second point I would like to make is whichever it is, be it technology or some form of social governance, the mission statement of the organization is one that is venturing into the unknown. Right? There is an element of risk-taking. And I don't mean like a gambling kind of risk-taking. I mean a risk-taking for the advancement of the greater good. Okay? It could be in science. You could be working for a pharmaceutical company, or whatever the case is, it's almost like the company you join has a certain level of mission statement to it. All right? Now, the other thing is this company, as I was saying, this mission statement is meant for the greater good. All right? And what is the greater good? All right, now that is, dependent on your point of view. But the one single trait that runs across all kinds of definition of what greater good constitutes is this notion that you're serving others. All right. So whatever mission statement your organization, institution, company does, there is this big overview. All right. It's almost like, okay, think of it like a pyramid. All right. Think of it like a pyramid. And whatever organization, institution, community you are a part of, right, that you're meant to be in, you're at the apex of it. Okay. Now, I'm not saying you're in some kind of Illuminati or anything. Now, I'm just saying, like, say if you're in a government, take for example the government, then you'll be at the apex of it because you get to have an overview of what's going on. All right. So, as I was saying earlier, technology, right, could be one of it. So, say if you're in technology, right, so say you're at an apex and then you have an overview of, the data or whatever it's going on. Okay. So, these are the central roles I see. All right, my PAL-1. Now, it could be in any possible, it could also be in a big institution. I don't want to limit to, social governance or technology. It could be in any institution, but I see that this institution is relatively big. All right. So my PAL-1, two possibilities, right? If you want to go with the traditional route, I see you in a big institution, all right, or in a relatively big company. If you want to go with the more entrepreneur route, I see that, you become part of a relatively big community where you are one of the founders or you join, but then you take on a senior role. And I see that the key to all of this, all right, so it sounds very disparate, right? You've got technology, you've got government and community. The central theme to it are three things, all right? Three things, my PAL-1. Number one, this organization has a vision that is pretty extraordinary. Like it's a new vision, a venture into the unknown. Like mankind stepping on moon, that's pushing the boundaries, right? Okay, that's number one. It's got to have a very strong mission statement. Number two, all right, it will be institution that requires some level of management because it's relatively big, right? So there are certain different roles people play, different levels, how they interact. All right, so you're good at that. So very clearly, I see you as some kind of operational management role, okay? And the third thing is, this role you're gonna play, it's not gonna be a role where you're like, oh, I'm just gonna serve the institution. I'm just gonna serve the bigger the bigger mission statement. No. Your role is to be a teacher. A teacher, all right, the wise one, right? The leader that gains the respect. This is your role, okay? And you are meant to bring people to work harmoniously together. All right, my PAL-1. So I think this is pretty much all I have for you, my PAL-1. I hope you enjoyed your reading today. And if you do, please give it a like and subscribe. Thank you. Hi, my PAL-2. Welcome to your reading. All right, my PAL-2. We've got quite a lot going on today, so let me break this up for you. We've got your skill sets, your abilities right here, what you are meant to do, like your destiny, and, well, the key to what you're meant to do. We'll talk about the industry, the nature of the job, and your role, all right? So let's start with who you are. All right. So my PAL-2, you are an introvert, all right? Or you're okay with working solitary. You're a solitary worker, all right? So you're someone who is very mental. You want to get down to the truth of the matter. You're not satisfied with, half truths, so I feel like you're a very good investigative researcher, journalist. Like, I see you getting to the bottom of things, all right? So, all right, this is very interesting because on one hand, you're very logical, all right? You're very logical. It's all about reasoning and the scientific matter of the truth, all right? On the other hand, I see that you have a very vivid imagination. Okay? So it's like your left brain and your right brain is in equal proportion in terms of activities. So, you're very imaginative and you're able to think out of the box, and it's almost like you can hone into the details of things. So it's like you have this magnifying glass ability to zoom in on the details. And on the other hand, you can zoom out. All right. So it's like your mind is like this very versatile camera lens. You zoom in, you go macro, and then you zoom out, you go wide angle. It's like your mind has this ability to do that. Okay. So we were talking about creativity earlier, right? So when you zoom out, when you see that big picture of things, it's like you can see how the dots connect. All right. So, and then you're creative, you're witty, right? So it's like you have a spin on things because you're looking at things in such a broad perspective, and then you're still able to like hone in on the details. It's like you have a very different perspective of things. Well, not different like is, oh, so completely out of this world kind of different, but it's like a tilt of the head, right? Like it's an interesting perspective. And people appreciate that, right? Because you help people, see the bigger picture of things while not missing out on the minute details, which matters, right? Okay. The other thing, my pal too, I see, is that you're someone who is very introspective. All right, I think this plays into like getting to the bottom of the truth, right? But I see that you're very introspective. It's almost like there is the surface matter of things, right? But there is the deeper meaning of things, right? So all that I explained earlier, like zooming in, zooming out, looking at the detail matters, this is still existing in the superficial material plane of things. You go into the heart of the matter, all right? You have this philosophical approach to you. I don't know if you took philosophy, you're interested in philosophy. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be academic at it, but there is a certain philosophy about you. And I think it took you, there's this coming of age, but you got to some point in your life, right? The wisdom of ages, as you call it. But you've gotten to a point where you have a deep understanding of certain matters, all right? It's almost like you bring about an existential viewpoint to whatever surface material problems there is, It could be politics, it could be economics, it could just be cultural, but you get to the heart of the matter. You figure out the existential reason behind that, the human nature, the human longing, what the heart wants, what the heart yearns for. You have a deep understanding of this, all right? And I think it comes from, number one, your ability to be alone, right? And you're solitary. It's like you can take that step back and you reflect. You're inward looking as much as you're outward looking, okay? I see a lot of dual balance in you, all right? All right, so as I was saying earlier, zoom in, zoom out, outward looking, inward looking, okay? So you have a fair bit of wisdom in you, my pal, too. And I think you're aware of this. You realize that you're someone who reflects deeply on a situation. You don't take that superficial, superficial is kind of a tainted word now, but I would say you don't take the surface value of matters, right? You go right into the heart of it. Okay, so let's look at what you're meant to do. Number one, I feel that destiny wants you to take on a role where you feel strongly passionate about. Not everybody, have this as their destiny, just so you know. I know it's a very modern day, understanding, viewpoint, especially with our generation now, where you got to do what you love, etc. Now, doing what you love is not necessarily what you should be doing. All right, because you may not have the right skill set, it may not be economically viable, or you don't have the ability for it, etc. But for you, all right, my pal too, you have to do what you feel strongly about. I don't mean what you love, I said what you feel strongly about, what gets you going. All right. If you feel that a certain social cause is what is truly bothersome to you, that is what you got to pursue. And when I say pursue, I don't necessarily mean that you do the exact same thing. So let me give you a more concrete example. All right. Say inequality is the issue. All right. For example, right, you want to tackle the issue of homelessness, right, because of the economic inequality it matters. I'm not saying you go work for a homeless shelter or some kind of charity organization. No. I mean, you could work with a variety of things. You could work for a think tank. You could work for an editorial. You could just be, you're a voice, right? We'll get to your voice, like what we're going to do later. But what I'm trying to get at here is you need to think this is where you take your wide angle lens, right? Your broad view, like into use, okay? Because the mission statement, the cause, doesn't have to dictate the form. All right. So your cause, whatever you're meant to do, the career that's going to make you the most successful, whatever that cause is, it's got to be very close to your heart. But the form, the nature of things, how it will look like, it doesn't necessarily have to be exact. So as I was talking about the example earlier, once again, it's an example. Say inequality is what truly, matters to you. You don't have to be working in government. You don't have to be working as an economist or some kind of charity organization to fix inequality. You could be working in editorial. You could be writing a book about it. So there's so many ways to tackle the issue. All right. So that's what I'm trying to get at, point two, my pal two. Now, the other thing, that I see destiny moving you towards too is you're someone, as I was talking earlier, you have that micro point of view, like you can zoom in, you zoom out. So one of the roles that you want to take on is one that allows you to accommodate a variety of opinions and then formulate one single opinion out of it. All right. So it's like step one, gather everyone's opinion. Step two, figure out what's the best. It's like you have to go to the other side, right, of the system. Okay, so take, for example, enemy's line, right? So it's like you can't find the solution, the antidote solution to the system unless you understand the system in and out. So you have to cross that enemy line. You have to understand that system in and out in order to find the antidote solution. You get what I'm trying to say, my pal, too? So I see you doing that, all right? So I feel like you're a problem solver, but it starts off almost like a researcher that is trying to analyze the issue here, right? And then coming up with one single conclusion out of it, all right? Accommodating everyone's point of view. Now, the other thing, my pal, too, I see happening is you're someone who needs to reflect on your role, all right? Your role. Let me clarify this. Your role, what you're meant to do is to alleviate the suffering, our suffering in general, all right? The suffering of society, the suffering of this world. All right, this sounds like a really big task, an enormous task. Now, I don't think the universe, all right, expects you to just single-handedly take care of this or to cure all that problem. But I think what the universe is asking of you, my pal, too, is however gigantic, enormous the task is at hand, the sufferings of the world, you are not to turn away. No one is asking you to bear the shoulder or the weight of all that responsibility on just yourself or to attempt to solve it. I think objectively we know it takes a collective effort to do so, and even with a collective effort, there's no guarantee will happen. But I think what the universe is urging you is that despite all that, despite the odds, despite the enormity of the situation, that you don't turn your back on the problems. All right, Pal 2? Okay, so Pal 2, let's get down to what you're meant to do here. So I definitely see you as a researcher of sorts, all right? You need to do a lot of research. You could be, you could play a researcher role. On the other hand, it could be and or, right? I also see you being a mode of communication, right? So that means someone who communicates to people, whether it be editorial, you're a journalist, you write a book, you go on video, you have your own blog. I see you as someone who transmits wisdom, transmits information and knowledge, all right? It's both. Right? There's information and then there's the knowledge and then there is the essence of all that, which is wisdom. And I see you doing both. All right, Pal 2. So, Pal 2, I see you as someone who works alone. Okay? And I see you as someone with a mission. All right? You definitely have a mission. Now, I see two possibilities. One is an inward mission. And when I say inward, I mean the inward journey of the soul. So I see you doing something in spirituality, in mindfulness, in psychotherapy. I see you along those lines, all right? We're talking about industries here. The second possibility is something to do with the environment. Something about protecting Mother Nature, So these are the two big categories I see for you, okay, my Pal 2? Either yours is an inward search, so coaching, psychotherapy, meditation teacher, anything in the spiritual lines, tarot card reader, astrologer, inward search, all right? So spirituality is one industry for you, and yes, it is an industry right now, as we all know. And the second industry I see is the environment, all right? Earth, green technology. There's so much we can do for the environment right now. I mean, there's so many possibilities. So that is one other industry I see you being in. My Pal 2, feel like you're a very important pal here. You're on a mission. And I think that whatever skill sets you have and whatever challenges you might have had in the past, and I feel like you have, all right, my Pal 2, you had some level of setback. But this was necessary, all right, for you to acquire the wisdom and for you to realize that for you to realize what compassion means, because we all have to go through a certain level of suffering in order to come to an awareness of the commonality of our suffering and why compassion is needed, right? And to get down to the heart of the matter in existential matters. So I feel like whatever philosophy you have, whatever wisdom you've built up, I think it's from, your past. And if you're still holding on to some grief, turn it around and realize that all that was meant to happen so that you have a role to play. You serve a purpose. All right? So let me reiterate a couple of things. You're good at working alone. You're introspective. You're logical, but you're creative as well. You can be very meticulous, but you can also be very big picture, all right? The role you're meant to play, you need to be very You know, you need to feel very strongly about your mission cause. Like their mission statement needs to be very strong, all right, in your heart. It's got to do with, you know, getting different opinions and then coming to one conclusion, which applies to, you know, you be taking on a researcher role. And it's got to do with some level of alleviating the suffering of society, all right, or humanity, you know, the world at large. It's got something to do with suffering. And, you know, it goes back to this existential understanding. It's very well paired together, right? Your existential understanding of things and the suffering of the world, all right? So, industry wise, spirituality, new age, psychotherapy, in the inward search, as I was saying, existential search, all right? And then on the more material plane, I see it being, you know, it's got something to do with the environment, protecting Mother Earth. There are many ways, right? You could even be working for Google Satellite, and that's still, you know, helping the environment. Many ways you can help the world, all right? Green technology, for example. In terms of the role you're playing, so we were talking about industry earlier, the roles you're playing, researcher plus communicator, all right? So if you're in, you know, spirituality, communicator, you could be, you know, you have a blog, you have social media, you're some kind of influencer, or you could be communicating with spirit, right? You could be a channeler, you could be a medium. Now, if you're doing the environment stuff, you could be, you know, research, editorial, also, have your own blog or be part of a journal or spokesperson. Yeah, I see spokesperson here. All right, my pal 2, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this reading, and if you do, please give it a like and subscribe. Thank you. Hi, my pal 3. Welcome to your reading. All right, so there are several components to your reading here. We're going to start off with your abilities, as well as, you know, what destiny has installed for you, as well as the nature of the career, as you know, in the industry and the role in which you will be most successful in. All right, so starting off the reading, I see that my pal 3, you are a natural entrepreneur. All right, you have an incredible sense of confidence, and it's like you're enthusiastic, you're motivated from within. All right. So there are two kinds of motivation. There's external and there's internal. I mean, obviously the external rewards are great, but you're someone who is self-driven. For the most part, well, most people, at least in this current time and age, are external driven. What are the rewards? How is this role being perceived in society, etc. But you're someone who is internally driven by your own passion, by your own enthusiasm, by your own belief system. All right? And this nature of yours, all right, is what makes you a very good entrepreneur. I also see that you're a very good manifester. All right. So because you so strongly believe in what you believe in, all right, your willpower is very sharp and it's very precise, it's very exacting. All right. So the other thing about you, my pal 3, is you're a multitasker. All right, which is much needed in an entrepreneur. It's like you can do the operational stuff, you can do the marketing, you can, you know, meet people, you do the write-ups, you do the session. You're like a one-man team, right? So it's like you do everything, right? So it's a lot. It's a lot of responsibilities you've got there, but you know, you have that in you. You're also someone who is pretty creative. Well, I don't mean creative in a traditional sense, like you're making art, or you could be, but I mean you're someone who's very versatile. All right, you're very flexible. You can go with you can find any situation and strategically pivot from that. Okay. Also, my pal 3, I apologize. I see that you're someone who's pretty discerning. It's like you can be in any situation, meet any certain people, and it's like you see through it. You see through their personality. You see through the situation. It's like you have X-ray vision. All right, my pile 3, very sharp, very sharp. All right, so let's get to what you're meant to do. Okay, so I feel like my pile 3, you're someone who's meant to break down the perceptions of people. It's like there is a traditional way of doing things, and then there is the pushing the frontier, right? And you're that, all right? You're someone who can. I feel like you're involved, whatever industry you're in. I see that you're always on the cutting edge, right? So, if you're in the technology community, I see that you're in some kind of companies that's sort of pushing the boundaries, right? If you are in, if you're an entrepreneur and you're more in the spirituality, new age, I see you work, being more, picking a modality that is, very modern in context, right? Very revolutionary. So that is what I see my pile 3, all right? What is good for you, the career path at least that, that is most aligned with your destiny, right? So I see that you're definitely a revolutionary of sorts, right? You could be working in some kind of social, some kind of institution or, a role where there's a social governance involved. You are in the role that pushes the envelope because you know what change is needed, and you're kind of like a rebel, all right, my pal 3. You're kind of like a rebel, and if you don't feel like, oh, I can go against the institution or I can go against the norm, well, you are meant to. All right. So I see that you're someone who rebels and who's going to do well if you go against the grain. So whatever industry you're in, and we can get to that later on, you're someone who pushes the envelope. All right. If things used to be done in traditional, conventional way, you're like, no, let's do it this new way. Why? Because let's get to why. So I feel like you're someone, like I said, you're very perceptive, right? So you see through the illusion, you see through the falsehood of things, and you are someone who is a true fighter. Like you fight for the truth, and you're someone who are very strong in your beliefs, but you don't just accept things the way they are. It's one thing to say, oh, I believe in something different, I believe the world can get there, but you don't just settle for that. You are hands-on. You're like, all right, so what can we do to implement that change, right? My pal 3, I feel like when I see your path, all right, if I had to sum it up, I see that you are a revolutionary as well as a true false, like a truth defender, a falsehood destroyer. It's like you destroy that which is false, and you levitate, you embrace what is true. All right, and although it might be a little taboo at times, like, people might judge you, people might be like, they disagree, they're reluctant to change. You are meant to push through all that illusion. It's like the Matrix almost, where, people are happy with the blue pill, and you're like, no, I gotta take you take that red pill, right? So, and you're meant to do more than just take the pill. You're meant to, figure out how to get everyone else on board, to how society can be pushed, or whatever institution or industry you're in. So say if you're in technology, all right, I see you, being in a startup. I don't see you being a startup. I actually see you founding a startup. I see you setting a startup. All right. Now, if you are a self-preneur, so you are working for yourself, I see that you become a coach. Okay, I see that you become a coach of some sort. All right, because as I was saying earlier, you're someone who's very empowered. So you'll be great at empowering other people. I also see, all right, my pal three, that you look past the mask. It's like there is this mask that we put on, or even society puts on, that is a cover up almost, right? So, two things. One, I see you in a role where you tear down the mask of an individual. So this is a very one-on-one role, like a coaching role, psychotherapy. I feel more coaching though. I feel more coaching, all right, for you. And where you can take off that superficiality and then you can empower them, right? Because what is holding them back is this need to put on some level of false mask, right? False pretense, right? So your role is to yank that mask off, I mean, gently, of course, or however you wish to do it, and then empower them. All right. So this is on an individual level. All right. Now, on a collective level, all right, my pal three, I feel that you're someone who brings out the awareness of what is false in our society, what is no longer serving us in society, of the bigger picture, right? I see you as being like a truth bearer of sorts, but to even get to the truth, you have to like tear those walls of falsehood down. So I see you doing that, my pal three. It's like you promote the truth, but at the same time, you got to like tear down what is false, what is wrong. You're very opinionated. There's no middle ground. And I feel like in this particular case for you, that's a good thing. There's always a right time and place for everything. There's a right time for being balanced, for taking the middle way. In your particular case, my pal three, I see that you kind of need to be on the extreme end because of the situation of things, like the pendulum, because of how far the pendulum has swung in life, in the world. Like you're this rebel who brings the pendulum to the extreme end, all right, before it can find its middle path. So your role is a defiant role. All right, my pal three, yours is a defiant role. And like I said, I see you working with individuals too. And whether you work in technology, you work for some kind of social cause, I see that the bottom line of this, like whatever industry it may be, is this pushing the frontier, this rebelling for the sake of a better good, of course, and this tearing down of falsehood. And I see that in the process of doing so, you empower a lot of people. It's like you know yourself. You're strong. You're definitely a very confident person, right? And if you take on a coaching role, like as I was speaking of earlier, you're someone whom your clients, when they work with you, they see through where they have been blindsided, what falsehood they have been holding in their mind space. And then you empower them, you free them. All right. So, yeah, very, very interesting pal, my pal three. All right. So yes, you're definitely the revolutionary pal here. All right. I see many different industries you can be in. Like I said earlier, it's both on the individual and collective level. So individual, you have this coaching role. You play maybe it could be physical sports. It could be some level of like personal coach, career coach, marriage coach. A personal coach. All right, personal coach in general. And then I see you in some form of technology. In this day and age, there's a lot of technology we use, but I see you more in the role of a startup, right? Where you're an entrepreneur, selfpreneur, or maybe you find like one or two co-founders. I definitely see you like doing your own thing almost. Yeah. Because you're such a rebel and you're so good at, working, being like your own boss. I definitely see you leading something here, all right? But it will be a cause or a project or a role where you're like the founder. That's what I see. And definitely breaking down of illusions, right? Breaking down of what used to be, breaking down of traditions, right? That's what I mean by revolutionary. All right, my pal three, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you do, please give me a like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Hi, my pal four. Welcome to your reading. All right, so there's several components to your reading today. We'll start off with your abilities as well as where you've been. Okay, so my pal four, you're pretty successful in life, all right? And I feel like you are the pal here where there is a career change in the works for you. You've been either contemplating a career change or you've been, feeling it for a while, where wherever you're at doesn't quite serve you. Whatever the case is, I feel like you're pretty successful. All right, you're pretty good at what you do, and you've been recognized for it. And I would say that financially, you're pretty stable. Okay, my pal four. Now, a couple of things. I feel that okay, number one, first and foremost, you're very intellectual. Okay, you're definitely intelligent, you're logical. Now, that being said, I feel like you're someone who also cares deeply for the less fortunate, the people in need of help. There is this desire in you. But I feel that in your past vocation, or if you're still in that particular career path, it doesn't quite achieve that. All right. So it's like your past career or whatever career you're in now, it serves your mind, it fills your pocket, but it doesn't beat your heart. Okay. And there's a part of you that wants to be of service almost to the less fortunate. All right. So having this desire, this compassionate desire, is very helpful. All right. So we can talk about what you're meant to do here. On the other hand, you're also very intellectual and you have this sense of detachment. All right. Now, I don't mean detachment like you're very cold. I mean detachment like you're able to analyze the situation from a distance and not be affected by it. And this is a very good ability. Why is this a good ability? All right. So when you're working with the less fortunate, you want to be involved, right? You want to be very hands-on, but you don't want to be pulled into the emotions. You don't want to be pulled into the feelings and the sentimentality, because that's when you lose objectivity. All right. So this is when your detached ability is like incredibly helpful. All right. So I feel that, all right, my Paul 4, you're someone who's been pretty successful in life. And you're at a point in time where you're thinking of switching out of your old path towards something that brings about more meaning to you. And you are spoiled for options, all right? So my Paul 4, this is a general reading, all right? So I'm going to say, first thing, number one, you are not meant to go back to your old path, all right? You are very successful at what you did in the past, or perhaps is and still doing. But the question here is, what career will make you the most successful? And when you think about the word success, it encompasses many things. It goes beyond the material, it goes beyond fame, it goes beyond fortune. It's about fulfilling your heart, like I mentioned earlier. And it's also about fulfilling a bigger cause, right? Something that's greater than yourself. So my Paul 4, this is going to be, you have to search patiently, all right? But one thing I can tell you is that it's definitely not going to be in an industry that is self-serving, all right? Now, it's going to be in charity, it's going to be with the government, it's going to be some form of spirituality, and, all right, this is the big thing I see within my Pile 4, education. All right, so this is a general reading, but I'm going to hone in on one industry here for you, and I feel like it's education. Now, education can be pretty broad, all right? For some of my Pile 4, I see you working with kids. There's a wide range of age. They could be young teenagers, toddlers, but I see you working with kids. I see you in some form of education. All right? Now, that's one. The second possibility, my Pile 4, is that given your career transition, right? It's almost like you had this big turning point, or you're at the turning inflection point right now. I see you possibly working with people who are experiencing the same form of transition as you. So even though you're not completely out of that transition, I do feel that you soon will, and you will take on this role where where people engage you as like a consultant almost on how they pivot out of their career towards something more meaningful. So I think a common word for that would be like a career coach. And I know you may not be at that stage at the moment, and I do feel that you need some time to build up to that level, but I see that. All right? I feel that you're not the only one here who's experiencing this need, this urge to do something more meaningful. And even though you might be a little lost at the moment, I do feel, my Pile 4, that you will figure it out very soon. Like I said, for some, there is no turning back. Like I said earlier, my Pile 4, there is no turning back to your old career. All right, you have the devil's reverse here, and I think it's this. If you used to be in an industry that is pretty self-serving, say you were in banking, or technology is pretty broad, but if you were in an industry that was self-serving, like outright, you are better off in your career path doing something that is others serving. All right, you have a lot of cups here, all right, in your cards. So I definitely see you working with kids. I see you working with, emotions. So you could be working in a form of, a psychotherapist, and you have to be trained for a while for that, right? So I do see you in some kind of consultant, like a therapist almost, right? And in this particular role, I see you, working with people in sort of the similar conditions where they're working through their transition, all right? And going back to working with kids earlier, now I said education, so kids is one possibility, right? Working with younger kids, but I also see you educating people at a different level. So they may be adults, right? They may be going through a career transition, but I see you educating them in some form of emotional therapy. It's like, because you are so aware and yet detached, it's like you have this certain philosophy of life, right? Where you are involved but not attached to it. And you have this industry career experience. So I see you playing some kind of consultant, therapy kind of role, right? Where you work with individuals who perhaps have taken the same path as you. And I see you really excelling at that. All right. But more importantly, my Pile 4, I do feel that you need to get out of your old role if you're still in it, and you need to take a radically different path. And this path involves helping people. So I mentioned a few things earlier: education, working as some kind of consultant or a therapist, working with kids, educating older people. Whatever it is, I feel strongly that the path that you are meant to take, that destiny has meant for you, is the path of helping others. It's like you provide safe passage for them. All right, that is your role, my pal 4. And you help people when when you're educating kids too, because I do feel like you have this role to play in the bigger picture of things, where you can start by solving problems, immediate problems, or you can start by nurturing and conditioning kids at a much younger age so that they grow up more equipped to handle certain emotions, certain, stresses in life, etc. I do feel that you're in some kind of education role, whether it be a direct teacher or some form of, maybe you're a writer, or you're like, you promote it. There are so many ways we promote ourselves, right? But definitely education is pretty strong in your books here. Like I said, the bigger picture is you have to move out of your old role towards a role here where you would play the role of helping others. A couple other things to keep in mind is that this transition that is going to happen, if you choose to take this path, is going to take a while. I feel that because you were so there's a level of attachment you have, even though you're somewhat a detached person, but there's still a level of energetic attachment to your old role, to your old career, to your old successes. So it will take a while for you to transition into this new role where you're like others serving, right? So the things to keep in mind is to, one, let go of a lot of preconceptions you may have. And the other thing is also not to have the expectation of the level of recognition you used to get. I do feel you're a pretty successful person. Instead, use those success factors as the ingredients. All right, so what were the success factors of you in the past? You were motivated, you had this level of detachment which allows you to look at things in a big picture. So take this level of the ingredients of your past success and bring it over to your new role. All right, okay, my pal 4, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the reading. Thank you very much for tuning in.